combated with, why are you sad? You don't need to be that. I had to carry my 5-10 pound book bag up the hill and I struggled with this, and you have a roof over your head and this and that. What do you have to be struggling with? But what parents and adults don't realize is we have our own struggles. We have different struggles that they necessarily didn't see at their young age, like social media and just dealing with a lot of social unrest, and that's impacted us. 1 in 5 young people have reported that since COVID, their mental health has been it's been negatively impacted. And it's like we're not hearing our young people when they say they need help. Or if we do hear them, we just diminish it, or it's not held to a serious standard that it needs to. And yes, there are uprising programs that have helped some, but a lot of these youth don't necessarily have the opportunity to join these programs, whether it be they have to go home and watch their younger siblings, or they have to work to support their family. We aren't giving our youth the ability to be the best that they can be because we aren't helping them through these hard times.
Thank you. And Tyreek, did you want to piggyback off that?
Yeah, because I definitely agree. Coming from the black male perspective, speaking on like mental health, I definitely do feel that the awareness is coming through and it's on the rise. You know, with the help of social media, people are more open about depression and anxiety and things like that, and it's all wonderful. But I think when it comes to the black male, we've been so good at masking it for so long and not being open about it. A lot of people don't know the warning signs, and a lot of people don't know when someone is struggling. And you start to think like how many black fathers are actually struggling on the inside with the financial struggles, the financial burdens, struggling through lack and the self-esteem of the pressures of building up their families and stuff, and just black teens trying to navigate their way through life. There's things that we do that we don't even know that we're going through our depressions or going through these cycles of, you know, insecurities or things like that. And I think we have to be more open and being in a position where we can be truthful about it and really push ourselves out there and be like, okay, maybe today's not the day. Maybe today's not, you know, I'm not the best. I'm not feeling the best. And because one of the things that we say that we're so comfortable as like Christians, we're like, oh, how you doing? Oh, blessed and highly favored. You know, God's got me and stuff. But no, you're struggling. You were just crying the other day. I know your business. You were telling me how you were going down in the slumps the other day. So we needed to be truthful and actually speak what's on our hearts and on our minds so that other people can feel comfortable reaching out.
Yeah, I definitely think that's important, especially for young people to start speaking out and to express yourselves and let people know what's really going on inside, right? So we can break those cycles of those generational curses of our older parents who kind of held those things down, deep down inside, that led on to those mental issues that they're experiencing later on. So what are some other issues that are facing young people that we can talk about?
In my opinion, basic life skills, right? Like budgeting, saving, stock marketing. Like, there's a lot of things that we should have learned in school that we haven't been taught in school. And for a while now, it's been a generational curse, learning financial literacy and the lack of financial literacy. It's crazy to think about all this time how, you know, other groups, other ethnic groups, they have money cycling through in their generations. Just imagine what we will be able to have in our next generations if we learned what we need to learn financially. If we learn how to budget sooner, if we learn how to invest sooner, if we know more about insurance, just things of that nature.
And I do want to just bounce off real quick. We need more mentorships. We need more male mentorships and more female mentorships where we have people who are actually thriving in the communities and taking the right steps and can be like, okay, young man, let me teach you the way. Let me actually show you how to be a young man in a society. And without that, we see a lot of these people trying to navigate their own ways. And they see and they model themselves after people who they see as successful online and who are flashing money and are, you know, buying cars and stuff like that. But on the inside, they're struggling. But all we see is the success. But there's no mentor, there's no big brother helping us and saying, no, this is not the way. This is the actual way to success. You know, build this on your own and let me teach you how to do it.
I agree. I definitely think you hit it right on the head when you said life skills. Specifically because I think when people think you go to school, teachers are, we're supposed to teach you math, history, language arts, things like that. And then they might expect your parents to teach you more of the life skills, right?
Right.
Life, and then your
But
parents might also think the teachers are supposed to teach you that.
exactly.
So then there's like this hole, and then you're lost without these life skills, and then you hit 18 and you don't necessarily have all of those things. And I think it's very important for us to learn those life skills, financial literacy, credit, things like that, before you graduate high school, right? Your taxes, when you get your first job, rather than afterwards. So I think it's great that you participate in programs with YWEP and with Inspired by Mona coming together to teach you those so that you can have that strong foundation so that you can move forward. And I'll let you piggyback off of that real quick, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Because I like that point where you go home from school and like you go to your house and like the teachers are expecting the parents to teach the kids what they're lacking in school. But 9 times out of 10, we're bringing knowledge from school to home because our parents are still learning.
Exactly.
And one of the things that Miss Tara, she hits on a lot is that their ceiling is supposed to be our floor. And a lot of the times, their ceiling is our ceiling. And it's not, we're at the same level as our parents. And that's not how it should be.
Absolutely. All right, so Tyreek, do you feel as though you have a voice? And if so, how do you use that voice?
I think I do have a voice now. It wasn't always, loud and boisterous. I didn't know who I was. I was still trying to navigate my way through life, trying to figure out who I was as a person. But through YWP and through the events that we have like this, kind of helped me speak what's truthfully on my mind and on my heart and not be worried about what other people think. Because if I want to actually get my message out there, I just got to be open and speak truthfully. And through my church, we have a couple young men who are struggling to figure out who they are. And I think I'm best using my voice to speak on what I've learned and kind of speak life into them. So, yeah.
I definitely can relate. In high school, I did a lot of different clubs and events where I was able to educate others. And I feel like since graduating and since COVID, that's gone downhill. And so really stepping back into YWEP has given me my voice back, and it's allowed me to amplify it. And like, as we're opening back up, we can do more events and we can touch more of the community. And I feel like that's where my voice is the strongest, doing those events and really helping people hands-on in many different ways.
Yeah, you all are using your voices right now. And then you're getting a lot of experience. I saw you guys on the radio the other day. Oh, big timers now, moving on up. All right, so Tyrell, we're going to go to you. What kind of racial discrimination do teens and young adults face? Have you ever been discriminated against, and how does that make you feel?
So, a while back, I'd always use my voice and speak about racial discrimination and use the perspective of other people and say, well, there's so much racial discrimination in the community and it needs to stop. But, of course, I've faced racial discrimination, but I didn't have like a strong example until I went up to college for my first time, right? And just a quick story. Me and my friends were playing around, listening to music, and no harm, no foul, nothing was going on, no negativity, just us dancing, having a good time. But they're, of course, black kids. And so anytime in a predominantly white area and you see a whole bunch of black kids, oh, that must be trouble, or they must be up to something. And just listening to music, we were just enjoying the vibe, and all of a sudden, a squad car comes, and he immediately gets out the car, puts me in handcuffs, and throws me in the squad car. I'm like, what's going on? We're just dancing. We're just having a good time. We're having fun. There were a couple white kids with us, and he put them in handcuffs but set them on the curb. Put them on the curb and had me in the car. And later on, 8 squad cars came, patrolling down the streets. They were circling around the block, make sure nothing was going on. And I was in the car for maybe 10, 15 minutes while a bunch of white kids were just lined up on the curb. And I'm just watching like, why am I the only one being detained in the car? And then they got my information, they got me out of the car, and they said, you know why we put you in the car, right? And I said, no, I'm lost. I don't know what's going on. Why am I here? And he said, well, you look like the aggressor. So for our safety, we had to put the one that looks like the most dangerous one in the car. He said, that makes sense to you, right? Of course I said yes. But in my head, that's horrible. Like, why? Because I'm a big black man, you're scared, so you had to put me in handcuffs for the first time for doing nothing but listening to music. So
Yeah,
that's heavy, right? That's heavy.
I've had a similar experience to that right here in Arizona in Mesa, and that was one of the most scariest experiences of my life when I was a teenager and in high school, and I literally thought that I might get shot and killed that day, and that's one of the worst feelings
What else will go
that
in your
you
mind?
can ever feel. Absolutely. Going off of that, what kind of conversations do your parents or mentors have with you about discrimination? And do you feel like these conversations are necessary, right? Like when cops pull you over, what are you supposed to do? So what are your thoughts around that?
Definitely. I'm glad that my parents were knowledgeable of like how to deal with the police and so in tune with our community, because at a young age they said, okay, make sure you are polite, make sure you are respectful, because at the end of the day, we want you home.
Right.
There's a time and a place to fight, and that's a lot of times that we're missing in our conversations, because we're always talking about the man and all the white man's holding us down. But we need to teach our children, but be safe.
Yeah.
Yes, it's terrible. Yes, it's a horrible situation. But at the end of the day, be safe. Come back home alive. And that's one of the things that my parents really instilled on us. And one of those ways is keeping the dashboard clean, keeping the glove department clean, making sure you only have your papers in there. So when they say grab it, you're not fumbling around trying to grab your papers. So they see you're grabbing the papers and you're polite whole time.
Right. Tyreek, you wanted to go off of that?
Yeah, because it took me a minute to actually get there, because my parents were twins, so we had the same parents, and they're teaching us they're teaching us the same lessons. And as I was like learning, I was like, this don't make sense. Like, why do I have to submit to somebody? Why do I got to say yes, sir, no, sir, and be polite if I did nothing wrong? Why can't I just have a normal conversation? Why does it have to be scripted in a certain way? And it even took us, like me and Tyrell, we got pulled over because I don't know exactly what was going on, but they wanted to make sure everything was okay. It was a dark area. Oh, the park was closed. That's what it was. And so they were like telling us to leave and stuff, but he was kind of rude with it. And in my mind, I was like, why do I have to be polite if he's being rude to me? And my tone kind of got like aggressive because I was getting frustrated. And this was a while back, and I was like a hothead. So Tyrell was like, just relax, we got to get out of this. And he was speaking to us. He was kind of rude and eventually let us off, whatever. But it was kind of frustrating when we had to figure out how to navigate that situation, and having to be nice, having to be polite when it shouldn't be this way.
Personally, so I grew up with my Hispanic white passing mother, and so she hasn't necessarily had to deal with those kinds of situations, so she didn't know how to educate me on those. So oftentimes it was me bringing that home to her and telling her, like, well, why was I never taught this? Like, I'm your black child. Like, yes, you've never necessarily had to deal with that, but you should be aware. And she's like, well, I don't know because it doesn't necessarily happen to me. And it's like, okay, now growing up, I have a lot of different, like, I have black friends, I have different kinds of friends, and so I've had to learn through them. And so that, I wouldn't necessarily say it's put me at a disadvantage, but it's taken me longer to realize that, okay, yes, I am in a different situation than my mom. Like, if my mom gets pulled over and I get pulled over, it can go two very different ways. And that's the thing, is I had to realize I didn't grow up like that, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen to me. And so I really had to be aware of that when thank God, I haven't had to interact with the police in any way, but now I know that, okay, I have to follow these steps or I may not make it home.
Because, the main mission is, like, after a while, like, learning it, the main mission is to just get home safely. And even though it's, like, in a messed up situation, I think it's important that we just teach our kids, while there's still, like, crooked police out there, you're going to have to go through it. I don't think there's a definite change or definite answer that we can actually put out there to make the whole police force nice to black people or whatever. And so, as of right now, the only simple answer is just make it home alive.
Well, yeah, and it goes beyond that too. Like, when I go into a store, I say hi and I interact with the person who's there. I say, hi, how are you? Like, I make my presence known so they don't look around the corner and are startled or are look at me some type of way. I have to go in there, and I've conditioned myself to do that, to make sure that they know that I'm in there and I'm not gonna steal or
I literally walk with my hands like this as I'm walking. Like if I'm like in a tight aisle and it's and I know they can't necessarily see me and see my movements, my hands are like this the whole time, like open and out. And I'm like, well, and it's like, well, it's respectful. It's so they don't think I'm stealing. Why would I be stealing? Why would you assume I'm stealing? Like obviously there's a lot of bad people in there. There's people stealing, but that's just a horrible feeling. Feeling I have to open my hands up, and I just hope one day, wouldn't it be amazing if we could just get to a point where we don't have to have that talk? Where you can be like, oh, what's the talk? Or what's that? I never heard of that. Like, I don't want my kids to have to go through a talk.
Right.
Have to sit them down and say, well, unfortunately, you're going to be a target just because you're black. And just seeing that shift in their eyes like, wow, I'm a target. I don't want to ever put my kids through that.
Right, right. All right, so we all know that social media and the media just in general tends to hype things up.
Yeah.
But it also brings awareness to things, right? So it lets us know that police brutality is happening to a certain demographic more than it is to other demographics, right? So do you feel that there's still racial tensions within the social media atmosphere? And does that influence you? Or is it just trends? Does it happen
Yeah.
when something big happens? Or not necessarily when something big happens, but when the media sheds light on it, that's when the social media kind of blows up and then it dies down. Then blows up, then dies down.
I definitely do see that, but I kind of see it in a different perspective. It's a money game, the way I kind of think of it. The media uses both sides to kind of play each other. I think they hype situations up to make it more than what it is. So when you see, for like the example, the George Floyd thing, the protest, I wasn't there personally, but Tyrell was there. And they were holding up signs and stuff like that, and it wasn't like violent until the police showed up. And it wasn't like aggressive until they were moving people, whatever. And that's when the media came. That's when the news reporters came. And that's what the people sitting at home seeing on the news, like, oh, look at these black people just angry, just messing up stuff, when really it was peaceful. But they were trying to move the people and move the crowd violently and viciously. And so I think the media uses both sides of the argument just to get media attention and make a profit over it. We see a lot of people, a lot of companies trying to profit over the George Floyd thing or Juneteenth, and how we see a whole bunch of T-shirts now, a whole bunch of mugs now, all over Walmart for Juneteenth, and then the next day they take it away. They don't care about us.
it was the Walmart's Juneteenth where it was like, it's the freedom for me.
Oh my God!
I was like, what?
And I think that goes right into that next question for you, Brooklyn, is what kind of cultural appropriations have you experienced and how does that make you feel?
Yeah, so I see cultural appropriation all the time, like on Instagram, social media. You see these girls where they're wearing box braids, and it's like, your hair is not necessarily meant for box braids, but just because it looks good on me, or you want that for you. And it's like, when I was a young girl and I had beads in my hair, I remember going to school and they used to always make fun of my beads. Like, they would shake and they would rattle and make some noise, and they'd be like, why is your hair loud? Or like stuff like that. But nowadays they're using that style to make money. They're profiting off of that. I've seen a lot recently on my TikTok. They're making agua fresca. It's a Hispanic drink. They rebranded it to be spa water. And it's like, okay, you used to make fun of me for all these things, my culture, and be like, oh, why are you eating that? That smells. Or why do you wear that? Or why is your hair brushed like that? But now you've rebranded it, called it something else, and you get to profit off of that. And that just makes me feel like I hated myself for so many years because, like, that was my culture. Like, that's what I knew. And so now it's crazy that a white woman gets to profit off of it, you know? And it's just like, you can't, there's a difference between appropriation and appreciation. Like, if you are out here researching the history and being like, okay, this is what it is, like calling it by its name, that's something different. Because, yeah, we're all going to mix, we're all going to exchange cultures and different pieces. Like, that's fine. Like, we're a melting pot. We should be doing that. It's just when you're stealing it and not giving it, like,
Credit.
you're not appreciating it.
Can I ask a question? Why does it seem that only like black culture is the one being appropriated the most. Black and brown culture is being appropriated. And it's like we barely have culture already. We don't know where we come from. We don't know exactly. We can't trace our roots to Africa for the most part. We don't know where our ancestors were originated from. And so all we have was the roots of America and building what we have. And we see repeatedly over and over, every time we make something, it's, oh, everybody can enjoy this. Everybody can do this. But then what does that leave us to represent?
I mean, because if you have nothing, you are nothing. That's
Sir,
that's
yes,
it
sir.
right there. If you don't know where you come from, then you can't say that you are any like.
Yeah.
How do you have pride in yourself if you don't know where you came from? And you see how we are strong in numbers, and we see that we're together, and our unity is just amazing. More than, I won't say more than other cultures, but our voices are just different. I won't say it's stronger. It's not more powerful. It's just different. And the only way to break that up is to get into our minds and say, you're not as powerful as you think you are because you don't know where you come from. And
then-
since you don't know where you come from, I'm going to take this away from you. So that's not technically yours.
Right. And then, so then what do we see on social media? What kind of movies are we taking in? We're seeing a lot of, drug movies. We see a lot of, baby mamas and baby daddies doing all that stuff, and crime shows and crime movies starring us. But that's the only glory we get on the TV screen. We don't get the proud black fathers, the proud black mothers,
Not anymore.
the successful families and stuff like that. It's all we see is just something to bring us down, and it's like a negative light. And how will other people see black people and be like, okay, these are good people, if all they see is the negative portrayal of us?
I think black people specifically are very powerful
Yeah.
in all kinds of ways. We've had a long history of struggle and overcoming, and just, in sports, right?
Yeah.
As soon as we added black individuals to sports, it kind of took off even further,
Don't
right?
get me
Whether that's
started.
the
Don't get me
NBA or the
Yeah.
MLB or the NFL, it just, it goes. When we talk about dance cultures and things like that, it's the thing you're gonna see. You're gonna see hip hop, you're gonna see hip hop dancing and rapping in car commercials. You're gonna see it's what sells,
Yeah.
and it's what people gravitate to. It's our hair, our food, our how we talk. All of those things, it's an attractive thing. So I think it's almost flattering in a sense that people want to be like that, or they want to imitate it, but I do believe that it's very important for people to appreciate that and not just try to basically like steal it and then try to make it something else, right? Because we're not going out and patenting, putting seasoning in our food, right? But I got that ingredients, that recipe from Tyreek, or I got it from Tyrell. Like,
Yeah.
give credit where it's due.
Absolutely.
And I think we would go a lot further and people would get along much more if they didn't realize that, if they didn't feel like something is being stolen from them,
That's
right?
it.
Like, we didn't have much, we built it, and now we want you to acknowledge it instead of just
Yeah.
taking one more thing from us that we had to work to create. Does that make sense?
Just give recognition. That's all we ask for.
Exactly.
Can I don't cancel me when I say this, y'all. And it's a broad subject that I really want to hit on, and it's about football. It's the sports industry in the whole.
It's slavery.
It's legal slavery, and y'all don't understand when I say this, but slavery is abolished, right? It's taking enslaved people who don't want to be in bondage, don't want to work, and are forced to work, right? Now we're changing the game, and now we're getting these young black men that's idolizing football players and making millions, right? And so they are slaved to that mindset that only thing I'm going to be able to be is a football player. I want to be a football player, so I'm going to do my best to be a D1 athlete. I'm going to only work. I'm going to put all my work into football. I'll put all my work into basketball, and I'm going to strive my hardest to be the next blah, 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 the next football player, next basketball player. And so then they go to school, they get scholarships. They get scholarships, and they get it all the way up to college football, and they say, well, I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to get to the NFL. That's my goal. I'm going to go to the NFL. But then they don't get picked. And so now, if you don't get picked, you wasted all that time in college because you didn't really go to classes like that because you're in the field. You're putting all your hardest in, and you want to be a football player. So all that time you spent, now you don't have life skills. You don't have a trade. You have a degree maybe, but the only focus you're having is to be a D1 athlete, to be a football player, and to be a basketball player. And when that dream crumbles because only a small percentage makes it, then you are left with nothing. And that is bondage in itself.
I also think that that kind of leads into this next question, I think, when you talk about like slavery, right? Because back in the day in slavery, you don't speak unless you're spoken to, right? You don't talk out of turn, and you're not supposed
Better
to,
not.
you're not supposed to speak up for yourself or other people or something like that, or something bad is gonna happen to you, right? And similar in the NFL, we have that happen a lot, right? Like, don't kneel with that person, don't speak up, don't do that, because this is what's gonna happen to you. We're gonna fine you, we're gonna take money away from you, we can't beat you anymore, but this is how we can hurt you if you do something like that you're not supposed to do, or that is outside the norm, or speaking up for yourself or for other people. So going into that, Tyrell, in black families as well, youth are often silenced and taught. You only speak when you're spoken to, right? So how does that influence you?
See, when I was thinking about that question earlier, I was like, that's a terrible thing. We shouldn't be speaking we shouldn't be getting scrutinized for speaking up or saying how we feel. But it is a residual effect from slavery. And I didn't think about it until you just said it, but it's coming from a hard place, and it's coming back from tough love. My grandparents are like, give us a whooping, stop talking back, stop being disrespectful. But I'm just using my voice. That's talking back. That's because in the world, they're going to treat it as, oh, you're talking back, you're disrespect, and that's costing your life. So growing up, obviously I didn't get that. Growing up, we had a father figure. His name is Mr. Van, and he's an older gentleman. Like, he was in his 60s, and he was raised in that environment. Children should be seen and not heard. And anytime I would speak out of line or speak out of turn, he would his voice would be like thunder, and when I tell you I was
shake,
my
whole body.
I had to change my boxes. I'll say that. I had to change my boxes, and he put me to the side, and he's still yelling, but he's like, "Do you understand why I'm telling you these things? Do you know why I'm telling you to be quiet? Stop talking back. It's because it's going to cost you your life one day." And he said, "If you don't learn it here, you're not going to learn it out there, and I can't help you out there."
That gives me chills. Like, I'm literally having chills.
Yeah.
That's insane. And Brooklyn, for you, is it like that in the brown community as well? Are you often silenced? Is that the same? Do you experience some of the same things?
Oh yeah, definitely. Growing up, my mom was like, "That's grown folk business. This is my house. You don't get a say, basically." And I feel like that's why now a lot of young people grow up and they don't know how to express themselves or ask for help when they're struggling, because if I was going through something and I try to tell my mom, it's like, no, I'm silenced. And so now, okay, I'm going to take that with me, and that's my trauma. I'm not going to move forward with that. I'm not going to learn how to speak up because I was always silenced as a kid. And that's the bad part. It's yes, they're doing it to protect us in a way, but it's it's causing other trauma that's deeper than, okay, no, you're a child. You're going to listen to me when I say, or because I said so. That's not teaching me anything.
Right, not expanding on it and explaining.
I want to bounce on that because I agree with your perspective on it too. Because yes, I get the side of, it wants to protect you outside of the household and things like that. But when our parents were raising us, they raised us to speak our mind and speak our hearts. And they said, don't let anybody silence you and stuff like that. But when they were frustrated and we did something wrong, whatever, or they didn't agree with our actions, we were trying to speak our minds. And if they raised us to do that, yes, we have to do it respectfully and things. But it almost became, no, speak your mind when you agree with my point. If you if you disagree, don't talk. And that's not the message that we should be walking out with. And going to what you were saying, that's going to hinder us in the real world, because then we're not going to know how to speak counter of what other people are telling us.
All right, so moving on to the next question. COVID-19, right? That impacted almost pretty much everybody, right? There was a lot of ups, downs, twists, turns, all kind of things. And we're still being impacted by it today. For the most part, people are. Are you still being impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and how have you adjusted to that?
I thought, and I was boasting so proudly, I was like, COVID's not going to touch me, and COVID's not going to hit me, until a month ago. I got COVID. After the pandemic was pretty much over, I guess we saw another spike or whatever, and it was ridiculous. It was crazy. but it was because we all got kind of comfortable again, and we stopped washing our hands. We started touching our face, stopped wearing our mask. Like
washing
she's
your
wearing a
hands.
mask right now, so responsible. But yeah, we weren't doing that anymore, and I got sick, and so it's still affecting us today. And I think we have to be cautious and still, understand and remember that COVID was a reminder that we're dirty people. We need to get back into the habit of washing our hands and stuff. I mean, like, because we don't we don't think about how many people probably touch this chair right here. We don't know how many people touch that doorknob over there, and then we go and eat some bagels that are out there. We don't. We're not thinking about this, and so we just have to remember, it's still out there, and now we got monkeypox going on. Now, oh my, what else is going to be coming? So,
It's the end times, brother.
oh my,
It's-
end
it's-
times are at the rapture.
And that's the thing is like now, like you get allergies and all of a sudden like, oh, it's COVID. Like everyone's like, oh, you said you got COVID, all this stuff, right? And it's like, okay, yes, we do have to be aware of that, but it's like also we were sick before too. Like obviously we need to be cleaner. We need to wash our hands more. We have to take more precautions, but it's like people are still dying of it, and that's horrible. And we have to realize and we have to know like we're not like this doesn't just go away overnight. Like we're still dealing with it. You know?
In my opinion, I just felt like that was a long 2 years. Like it was a long 2 years. Every day just felt like the same day over and over. And I feel like in that, a lot of time was lost. And I wasn't working, and I feel like I should have taken advantage of that time and say, you know what, this is a reawakening. This is the moment to just to hone in. But honestly, I just got sad. I just got lonely, depressed. I just like soaking in my seat. Just felt like I wasn't moving. And instead of turning that time for let me build myself up. Let me gain more knowledge, and let me learn financial literacy. It was just a time of pause. I just felt like a pause, and I feel like I'm just now getting out of that mindset. And you wouldn't think that you'll still be in a hard place after those 2 years. You would think, okay, well, the COVID's over, the pandemic's over, I'm up, everything's back to normal. But it's like a slow change. It feels like a slow, okay, now I'm finally out of that mindset. Now let me get the ball rolling. Now let me get up. Because when we were in COVID, I was like, 18? And now I'm 20. And I feel like I'm just now getting started in my adult years. And so, yeah, I'm still kind of feeling the effects of COVID.
And yeah, it was like a long time ago, but when we think about like how it affected the seniors, like, we didn't get to graduate. And I was thinking like, okay, the feeling of it's gonna go away, it's gonna wash away. But when I see my friends graduating like the year after, or like now going into this year, and seeing their graduation and stuff, it's like, dang, I didn't even get that. And yeah, they did like a little drive-through graduation. They had fireworks and stuff. They wanted to make the best of it. Obama spoke to us and stuff. It was good, but like all throughout high school, what we were working for is for that grand ceremony and be able to toss your tassels up, your hats up and stuff, and be like, I did this, I accomplished it. And without that feeling, it hurts a little bit. And it's just learning now just to get past that, get through that, and to realize it's not about the ceremony. You still accomplish something, but I think that pain of something that's missing is always going to kind of be there.
Right. It's like those 4 years you expect that. And it's like I put in all this work to be appreciated for what I've accomplished. Like it is hard going through high school, and it's like I did get a graduation, thank goodness, but I didn't get a prom. And it's like that's one thing as a young woman, like I look forward to getting dressed up, going dress shopping with my friends and stuff like that. And it's like, what am I going to tell my kids? Like my mom tells me her stories and like all that stuff. And it's like, it's those little moments in our culture that we think, okay, I get to look back on that and the experience. Like we never got that. And it's like even now, COVID kind of threw my whole life plan into a whirl. And it's like I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. And I feel like a lot of people don't know what they're doing because of that. We just kind of got mixed up and thrown around, and it just feels like a little lost. And that's okay to feel lost. It's okay not to have a plan. You don't have to have everything figured out right now. Like, yes, keep working towards that, but it's like it's okay to feel lost in this moment.
Right. I had a graduation. It's kind of a long time
Rub
ago
it in,
now.
rub
Makes
it
me
in.
feel old, so I'm gonna say that. But my 10-year reunion was actually 2020, which I thought was we all thought was gonna be the best year ever, right? We were like, 2020 vision. This is gonna be this. This is gonna be this. And COVID said,
No.
Right, it turned it all around, right? So we all have definitely missed out on some things. But going into the next question, I want all of you to answer this, but we'll start with you, Tyrell. And what motivates you to keep pushing when you're going through things? Because everybody goes through things, right? Like no one is exempt from trials and tribulations. It's just how do you continue to go forward and get over those?
Basically, having the right people around you, that motivates me more than anything. Because when I'm going through struggles, I'm going through depression, going through sadness, and I'm going through my low points at a time. It's you need the right people around you that's gonna be like, hey, get up, let's let's go, let's just go out, let's just go drive, let's get coffee, let's just do something better than what you're doing right now. And the phrase that I was left with a while back ago was, it's okay to be sad. No, it's okay to give up. Just give up tomorrow. And at first I was like, what does that even mean? What, give up tomorrow? And it's so powerful because you wake up the next day and you said, it's another day. I'll give up tomorrow. And just keep going and just keep going through that and say that every day. Not say that every day, but have that mindset. Okay, I'm going to keep pushing throughout this day. I'll give up tomorrow. And then say that again. And then you get stronger each time until a point where it's like this. I don't even need to say that to myself. Because every day is going to be a blessing. Every day is going to be a new day. Every new day is going to be a challenge. And that's exciting because it's going to make me stronger than what I was yesterday. And having a twin brother that's able to have my back in those moments and have me praying for me and just being in my corner and being in my ear, it's annoying sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Because he's a lecturer, right? He's a teacher at heart. And sometimes when you're going through something, you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that, but it motivates you because you pick up those nuggets and you apply that to your life and you need that. And then I gave him his accolades and I said thank you because it helps. So having the right people motivates me.
I feel like for me, what motivates me is my family, especially my mom. She was a single mother, and so I know all the struggles that she went to make sure me and my sister had a good life and to make sure that we did have certain things instilled with us, like respect and hard work and all that stuff. And so I want to make her proud. And my grandma, I don't want them to, like, not necessarily that I'm doing it for them, but all their struggles, I don't want it just to be for nothing. You know, like I want to amount to something for myself, but also for them because they did go through a lot. And I know, like, my struggles right now, I've learned that I'm stronger than what I'm going through. I've made it this far in my life. I've made it through all the bad things I've felt, all the things that I felt that I couldn't get through. I made it through those. I am stronger than that feeling, you know? And so, yes, times are hard, and we do need those people around us because that's essentially what's going to get us through, feeling supported and feeling loved. But really, my family is my biggest motivation.
Personally, Miss T told me to speak my truth, so that's what I'm going to do. But there's nothing like the joy of the Lord, truthfully. I've connected myself to a vehicle where I can, put my fears and my struggles and be like, Lord, whatever's going to happen, whatever trial I'm going to face today, I know you got it, and it's in your hands. And there's like a weight that's lifted off your shoulders, and it's like, I don't have to fight this battle by myself. I'm not doing this by myself. And when you read some of these verses and you get it into your mind and get into your spirit, you're like, okay, I can walk this walk because I'm not the only one who did it. The same things that we're facing now are the same things that people faced in the past. And like history repeats itself. And so when you read some of these verses and you're like, oh wow, they struggled in the exact same area, the exact same way that I did. And they said these words and they prayed to this God, maybe it'll work if I do this too. Maybe it'll work if I believe in this too. And I found truth in that, and I believe that, the Lord is guiding my hand when I wake up and there's just a wave of depression and I don't feel like waking up, I don't feel like moving, I don't feel like going to church. Lord, it's in your hands today, and I just take that step. And it's a true relief, honestly. So that's what helps me keep pushing throughout my day.
Yeah, I have a few things that kind of motivate me as well. Definitely my family, right? I want to put them on the map. I want to like go as far as I can for them. I want to be able to support them. And growing up homeless, stability is huge for me. So I always want to become as successful as I can in order to create that stability and the foundation for my family, but also for future generations, right? To break that curse so we're not homeless as well. I also do it for you all. I do it for young people to show you that it doesn't matter where you come from or who you are or what you look like. That doesn't matter. It doesn't dictate who you can become or how far you can go in life, right? So now I'm working on my doctorate and hope to finish this year. But I do that, to show you all that it's possible. Like whatever you put your mind to, whatever you work hard towards, whatever you are pushing through, like you can become whatever it is that you want to in life. But definitely those are things that motivate me, but also, you talked about God a little bit, and that's what pushes me every single day. We, each and every one of us, everybody here, everybody watching us live, we are all given a purpose. We're here for a specific reason in life. And we never know when our time is going to be up, right? So we're racing against that. So every single day, you're supposed to live life to the fullest because you never know when it's going to be your last. And I think every day that I get older and older, I'm losing more and more people around me that are really, really young. So you just don't know. So I know it sounds like a cliche when we're like, live every day to the fullest, but you really, really, really have to do that. It's not a cliche anymore. It's becoming realer and realer, especially with COVID taking young people, old people, poor people, rich people, people who don't, money doesn't solve all the problems, right? So like when it's your time, it's your time. So I think it's important for us to be motivated by that, be motivated by time, be motivated by, some people didn't wake up today, but we did. So how are we going to make the best out of this day? How am I going to live for those people who wish they could still be on earth today and pushing forward as well? So just going on to the next question, how can we make our communities better?
Personally, I feel like we can make our communities better by just, how do I say it? Like, just being proud of our community. Like, taking the time, like, cleaning it up. And I know there are a lot of projects and people that go around and clean up the neighborhood, and it doesn't necessarily always feel clean. Or it doesn't necessarily feel like, oh, I live in the South Side, like, that's just how it is. But no, taking the time to really feel proud of your neighborhood, really just clean it up. Like, not necessarily just clean it up, but recycle a little bit more. Take care of the earth a little bit more. Just make it better for everyone.
I feel, my bad.
The twins.
I feel like having more moments like this. Be real. Be real with our young folk. Be real with our students and our teens around us. Because one of the things Miss Teen said to us, they know where you're lying. They know where you're putting on fluff, and they feel it. And it's annoying to see when you see those like grown folks act like they got it together, and you have young people looking at them like, oh, I got to be like that. When they're putting on a show, and having more vulnerable moments like these is what we need. Having people like you and Miss T just here for our youth and want to see them succeed, and standing behind the scenes and letting the kids take the forefront. That's very powerful. Like Miss T put this whole thing together, and she's not even near the camera. Right. We hardly see that nowadays. Now it's like, oh, okay, the kids, but also me. I'm the face of this, or oh, I do this. I'm the CEO. Like, we need less of that and more of this.
Yeah. And a controversial topic, like my brother said, don't cancel me. But we have to get off that hamster wheel. And we're, yelling at Congress, and we're doing these protests and like, you need to make change and stuff. But we're not willing to make the change for ourselves. Like, so the controversial topic is we got to stop modeling our lives after these rappers and stuff that are out there. And we should stop listening to these people, because a lot of them, like, Trippie Redd, Young Thug, and all these people, Jay-Z even, they're talking about, abusing women, or like getting mass money, or selling drugs, or shooting people and stuff. And it's like, yeah, the beats sound cool, and it's like, it's trendy and stuff, but why are we listening to this? And we're listening to this stuff, and do we really think that the stuff that we listen to isn't going to affect our daily lives. The stuff that we're constantly ingesting into our minds, we're liking it and adding to our favorite playlist and putting it over us like a mantra, singing it over and over ourselves, we're acting like this is not going to have an effect on how we walk or how we talk or how young men are going to see women. It all has an effect. And we got to be more conscious of that and stop putting that money towards these people. Yeah, they're trying to make it. Yeah, they're trying to do whatever. But it's not healthy for the black community and the black or brown community. So,
Yeah, in this last presidential election, we turned this whole state a whole nother color. It switched, right,
Yeah,
from one
yeah,
color to the other, and that's because people came out in like waves,
Yeah,
right? Young
right.
people, people of color. So how important is it for young people to vote as soon as they turn 18, whenever that election is, and to not only vote on a national level, but locally where the
Yes,
policies
yes.
will impact you the most?
I wouldn't say vote as soon as you're 18 because you could just be voting for anybody. Oh, I'm gonna vote because he's black. No. Look at the policies, and I didn't really understand this because I used to think that way until like Miss T was telling us. She was like, I don't vote for people just because of the color of their skin. I want to vote people who's like for us and actually gonna create change. And so I was like, okay, that actually makes sense. Okay, let me model after that. But it's a lot of work and it's a lot of research. But in the end, we're doing our part to actually creating the change that we want to see, pushing the people who are actually powerful and who can make that change. So do the research for the people who want to vote. I encourage everybody to vote. And yes, in those smaller elections, we need to be more involved in that because that's more important than voting Trump into office because he has no power. He's just a face, to be honest.
Right, and that's the thing is like, yes, vote for your president, that's big too, but you need to vote for the school board people, or you need to vote for your local treasurer, or stuff like that. It's like, those are the people that are gonna make the difference within your community for you. They are the ones that, okay, yes, I have this petition that I wanna put for my community. I'm gonna go to them. I'm not gonna go to the president because it's local. We need to think local before we can make a national change.
And if you want to complain the right way by voting. But if you're going to complain but you're not going to vote, I don't want to hear you because you're doing nothing but talking, and that's the cycle that you're going to continue. And they're going to, oh, why is my water not the right color, or why is my rose breaking? It's because you're not voting. Why is there trash in the streets and around my neighborhood? It's because you're not putting the census in. We need to vote, and we need to do our census. That's one of the things that we need to learn as a community is just track down how many people is in your house and what's your real income. Don't say, oh, I make this much just because you're embarrassed. Everybody's going through a struggle. Put how much you actually make and be real, and then so our communities can actually change for real. You gotta vote.
Absolutely. All right, so you're all adults now, and it's crazy to think about it like that. I remember when you guys were still teens and young teens at that. But what's one thing that each of you would want more seasoned adults to know?
To understand that young people are just learning how to be adult people. So be that model that we need to see and actually represent and model after. Speak life into us. Everybody has the option to speak life or death. And a lot of people, their emotions get the best of them, and they're in like a high authority position, and they speak death over their children. They speak death over, a classroom if they're a teacher. They have to understand that we're all learning day by day, and we are looking up to you. So we're just navigating this world and just trying to learn how to just be. So, yeah.
I feel like going off that too is like, not necessarily like, you have to be sensitive to us in a way because we've grown up with all this violence. Most of us were born around 9/11, and so we've grown up with that and the war in the Middle East, and so we've had all this stuff. We've grown up in COVID, the time where we were supposed to be living our best lives and learning and really gaining those skills. It put us at a standstill. And so it's like, you have to realize that and how that's impacted us. We've gone through all this time, and a lot of us did become depressed. And so now we have to go, now that everything's open, we have to deal with that and transitioning back into society when during that time when we were supposed to be learning those life skills, or we were supposed to be out here trying to figure out what we want to do with our life. We were stuck. And so it's like, give us the time. Let us be. Teach us how someone taught you. It's just we shouldn't, okay, you're grown now. We shouldn't just have to know everything. It's like you were our age. You were taught. Someone took you under their wing, and if they didn't, like, I'm sorry, but we need time to learn, like you said. Like, we need time.
And honestly, we need some of these older folk, seasoned folk, to just listen, understand and listen, and know that it's okay to take a step back and let the young folks lead and let the young folks take the new positions, because 9 times out of 10, the young folks know what young folks are going through. And the seasoned folks don't really have a good understanding what these kids are going through, and they're just going from what they were taught as a kid. Like you said, they're taught at 18, well, this is how I got through it, we got through it. But that's horrible. That's a curse. That's a generational curse that you're still passing down. And I understand it's cool to gain knowledge and get that experience off of them. But if we continue to limit our children, we're not going to go anywhere. These seasoned folk, they say our children are everything in our future, then show it. The proof is in the pudding. Let these young folks lead and
Amen.
step down.
And I have a younger brother. We have a younger brother. And it was a weird understanding, but coming to the realization that he has his own perspective and his own mind about the household. I told him, I was like, honestly, I forgot that you had a separate life. Like, I see it as like a TV show, and like in my own show, I'm a main character. And but in his TV show, he's the main character. And so it's understanding that throughout this world, like, he has his own life, his own perspective on a lot of things. And it took him like actually motivating me or speaking something into me. I'm like, you're my younger brother. Like, who gave you the voice? But I was like, wow, this is exactly how we older people need to see us as we're trying to, create change, just by listening to what we have to say and our perspective. A lot of people who are in positions are stuck in their ways, and they're afraid because of their ego to listen and to be like, okay, maybe you got a point. Maybe some things need to change.
And that's the thing, is like they have to be open to change. Like, okay, yes, we've been going through this cycle for so long and it's not getting us anywhere. We have to change something.
Yeah, absolutely. They should have a lot more patience, right? Because you can't go from telling your kids, speak when you're spoken to, all the way up until they're 18. And then it's like, all right, now advocate for yourself. No, now go get a car. Now do this. Now get your first apartment. Now do all these things. But I tell you, I turned 30 this year, and I still feel very young. Like, I still feel that I don't know it all. And no one knows it all. So don't think, like, I still get talked to like I'm a young person, but I still feel very, very young, and I still feel like there's a lot of learning to do. And I think that that's for everybody, right? We can learn something new every day, and we don't just learn things from adults and seasoned adults, but we learn from you all too, like young people. And it's very important for us to listen to you just as much as we speak to you as well. And we always say you were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, to listen as twice as much as you speak, right? So what are some things that your community can do to help you and young people, and to help push you forward, or like invest in your dreams, or how can they amplify your voices?
All the good doers, the good doers. Everybody who has a nonprofit organization, everybody who wants to create change, everybody who wants to be involved needs to get together and actually communicate with each other, and actually, let me come to your event. What can I do to help you? What can I give you? What can you give me to help me? Like, we need to find a way to come together as different organizations and come together as a community to grow together. And I feel like that right there will give me hope for tomorrow, to see that we're actually communicating, because that right there is unity. And that's what we really need. We have so many different organizations that want to be different and say, well, I can't join this organization because I want to be on the top. And we need to get rid of that.
Like a competition.
Like a competition. It's not a competition, because we're all going through the same thing. We all want the same goal, and it's change for the future generations.
I feel like you said earlier, really giving the youth the platform and not making it curated. Like, let them speak their truth. Like, YWP lets us get up here and say what we feel and from our hearts, but not everybody gets that. It's, okay, you're going to go up here, you're going to be our model, and you're going to say what we want you to say. But that's not what we need. We need to be heard, listened to, and allow us to speak our truth.
And like what Tara was saying earlier, we need to have more moments like this, more regular people, because we're special people, but we're not special people. You know, you guys have a voice. All the young people in this world have a voice, so we need to turn the cameras to them, turn the microphones over to them, and actually hear what they have to say and what they're going through. Because the teenagers today have a totally different perspective on this world than we did. So, yeah, just more moments like this when we're coming together.
Also, just embracing the kids who have lost their way, the teenagers who are thugs and looking like criminals, and normally people like they're afraid to reach out to those and afraid to, oh, let me go take them under my wing. But some of these young men, they just need a hug. They just need somebody to talk to, somebody to be a mentor to them, someone that's not afraid to say, hey, let's get this together. Let me bring you to church. Let me bring you around the right people. Let me bring you to this organization. Let me bring you to the right path. But people are afraid, like, oh, this person's gonna reject me. They're gonna make fun of me. This person, I'm ready to be called out my name and be bashed if I'm taking you out of a dark place into a right place. Like, we need more people ready for that fire, really.
Yeah, definitely. You talked about mentorship a lot, and I specifically think the community could help a lot more with that, with mentoring individuals. I personally did not get where I am today without mentors, hands down. It wasn't me. It wasn't all me at all. Starting from my 6th grade English teacher, right, Miss Listener, to my basketball coach, Coach Morton, and going forward, the Boys and Girls Club, there was a lady who paid my membership fee for me, but that's because she tuned in and took that moment to understand that something is wrong, right? Like, we got to tune in. I think the world moves so fast that we don't pay attention to people around us, or how can we help other people, or who's going through something worse than we are. So I think it's very, very important for us, as far as we move along, that we should always have one hand behind us, right? We may have one in front to try to grab and go for what we're going to do, and then another hand behind us to pull other people along and to teach them what we've been taught and to pass on that knowledge, so it doesn't just stop when we pass on, right? And then we didn't pass on all of that knowledge that we've acquired going through our lessons and going through and achieving our blessings or successes and things like that. So it's very important as you move forward to bring somebody along with you along the way. And then last but not least, we haven't forgot about you all. We haven't forgot about the audience. So what are some questions that you want to address to the audience, or what do you want the audience to take away from this, or what do you want them to know before we allow them to ask us some questions?
I would actually just say, just be the change for sure, like for real. You know how we say like the whole cliche, be the change you want to see in the world. No, actually be the change. Change your actual self and understand, okay, I got some bad habits. Maybe if I want to see, success in my life, maybe I should, humble myself and pick up a book. I hate reading. I just despise reading. Everybody's saying, I don't like it. I don't. But I see truth in it, and I see, there's some things that I can learn from it. So it's just understanding that discipline, because I'm terrible with money. I had Dutch Bros this day, Dunkin' today, and I'm like, I can't get control over my finances and stuff, but I'm not actually taking the time to learn. And so I bought a financing book, and I'm trying to actually learn it, so I'm getting that discipline to understand how my money's being spent. And so it's annoying, but that's what we got to do. So
For me, my one thing is change can be little. It could start small, but it's going to build. And so even if you feel like, oh, I just did one little tiny thing today, you could have touched one person. You're saying good morning to someone, or you're smiling at them. You don't know what they're going through. They could have had the hardest day of their life, but that gave them a little bit of hope, a little bit of just love for that second. And so it's like, even though you think it's not doing anything, it is. The little things that you do are making a change. And eventually, it's going to change something on a grand scale. But you have to be willing to take the little wins and not just, oh, I'm not changing the whole political climate, so it's not even worth it. But it's like you have to start small.
For me, it's like having a perspective matters. Having different perspectives matters. And being able to speak on your different perspective matters a lot. A lot of people say the world is your oyster, but who likes oysters? Who like they smell funky, they only taste good. Put your hand down.
I tried oysters for the first time.
It only tastes good when you put hot sauce on it, and it's like for me anyway. But I like to think of it like the world is my clam, because I look at the shell. Maybe I find beauty in the shell because the shell looks nice, and you can see how it's aged over time by the way the shell looks, or somebody might just like the inside of how the shell looks versus the outside, and it's all pretty, got nice little colors. Somebody likes the pearl that's inside of the clam, or somebody just likes the flavor of the actual clam that it had taste. It's how the perspective of it's the perspective of how you look at things that matters, and you have to have different perspectives in order to create change.
Yeah, and then me specifically, I strongly believe that it's everybody's responsibility to make this world a better place. I believe that things impact you even when you don't think that they impact you, right? So for our community, we have to invest in our young people because they truly are our future, whether we like it or not, right? You guys are gonna grow up, you're gonna be our next doctors, our next teachers, our next lawyers. So we have to invest in you now, right? So you can grow up with a solid foundation so that they can take care of us later, right? And we can do that now, invest in you, right, in a positive way. Or we can end up spending taxes on our prison systems when our children are locked up or things like that. So it's kind of an alternative, but it's going to be one or the other. So it's almost like, let's choose this now, let's choose this positive path now so that we can make our community better for everyone, right? Because it's like, let's give them positive things to be involved with. Let's help them go to school so that they don't feel that they don't have options, and then they go into our neighborhoods robbing or stealing or, taking advantage or killing people. So it's one of those things where you might be like, well, those aren't my kids. Like, I don't have to take care of those kids, right? But those same kids might be the same ones that end up in your neighborhood because you thought that, they're not going to impact you. So I just strongly feel that, once again, it's everybody's community to come together to invest in these kids, not just monetarily and just donating, but get involved, become a mentor, volunteer with the programs, find out more information about YWEP and how you can help advance that mission. But I strongly think that we all have to come together, and that's the only way that we're going to make this world a stronger place. And it doesn't matter what you look like, what area of town you live on, how much money you make, your skin color, your background. We all have to come together, and that's how we're gonna all succeed. So with that being said, I thank all three of you today. Didn't they do a wonderful job, everyone? Thank you. And it was a pleasure of mine, as always, to be a part of this, to be able to share time with these beautiful young people and these smart and talented young people, and always to be a part of YWEP. But we're not done yet, so now we want to offer you all the opportunity to ask our panelists some questions as well.
Did anybody have a question or a statement for our panelists? Ladies? Gentlemen? Okay, we got one here in the front.
Okay, hi, thank you everyone. That was really good advice. My question is, you guys talked a lot about mental health, and you guys talked about like when you guys are in depression and your sadness that like you use God or your family, but I wanted to ask like what's some advice for like just like personal, like if you guys are in depression or sadness and you don't have anyone around you, what's some advice that you would give or like give to young people that you do to get out of that depression and sadness?
The way I see depression, because depression is like a wide scale kind of thing, and it's not the same for everybody. Some people are diagnosed with true depression, and it's like an actual mental disorder where like they need to get medicine and stuff like that. And so I don't have the actual perspective on that area, but I think we all get like into a wave of depression or like sadness and things like that. So personally, I've understood that sadness or depression is a mental game. It's a mental war. And when I'm suddenly feeling sad, when I'm suddenly feeling like my mood has switched, or I'm like having a good time and I'm thriving, and suddenly I'm sad and I'm like super heavy, I just learned, and it took some time, but I've learned to, investigate that and to dive deep, like, why suddenly am I feeling this way? Why now am I thinking about childhood trauma? Why now am I thinking about the things that people have said to me? And I've understood that it's just something trying to come over my mind. And so I think it's pushing past that, and it's pushing past and saying, this is not real. This is not truly what I'm, it's something deeper, it's something stronger. And it's getting over that, and it's leaning to something positive, something joyful. Sometimes it's too heavy to do it on your own, so I rely on people that are close to me. I rely on my friends, I rely on Tyrell, who's like there to support me, and I rely on God, to be honest. That's like my personal truth. And I just bring that to him, and like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I going through this? And then I've understood how to just navigate it in that way.
Thank you.
I just want to
I
add.
didn't know if I was-
Oh yeah, you can add on.
You want to first?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you really kind of like what you said. You have to allow yourself to feel those feelings, and you have to really think about it. And it's like, okay, why is this happening to me right now? Or like, just really allowing yourself to feel those feelings. But once you gone through that, you could journal. That I like to journal sometimes and really just get all that out so it's not consuming you and it's not eating you up. You have to be able to share those feelings and really not necessarily put them into words, but realize what's happening, but also take time for yourself. Do things that make you happy, like do a self-care day or color, tap into your inner child. Like just do things that make you happy to really like, okay, yes, I'm going through this right now, but there is hope and there is positivity and there is better.
I made a cutting board. when you talk about tap into your inner child, I was feeling down one day, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do some arts and crafts. And so I got a cutting board. I stained it. I put my name on it and everything. I hung it up, put some string on it, and it was pretty cool. And I channeled that negative energy and just made it something positive.
My thing is just don't accept it. Don't accept it as a personality trait. Like if I'm getting overwhelmed with sadness, I'm not gonna say I'm depressed or I've been in a sad place for a while. I'm not gonna claim that energy. I'm not gonna claim I'm just depressed now. No, I'm being attacked by depression. I'm getting attacked by the world, and there's bigger things that are attacking me. But I'm not gonna say I'm depressed because that is accepting my defeat, and I don't want to accept my defeat because I'm not done yet. I'm not finished.
Thank you.
Great.
Did you have a question? This is a
Go ahead.
free zone. You can ask this.
I gotta formulate it right. Sorry. Give me a minute.
Okay. I was gonna say it doesn't have to be perfect. You can say it any way you want to.
And for those watching live as well, we're taking questions. You can send them in.
All right, we have another one.
Okay, for the teens out there that may not have a mentor or don't know how to seek one in their community, what are some characteristic traits that you guys look for?
In a mentor?
Yes.
I feel like I look for someone that's gonna really hear me and allow me to really just express what I need to express. So one of my mentors, I know you can go to the counselors at school, and that's their job, is to really hear you and give you tools that you need. And so I feel like I look for someone to listen to me, but also someone that's gonna push me to be better than, or push me to be the best that I can be. And someone that's not gonna just let me like, okay, you're feeling sad, so that's what it's gonna be. No, you're gonna help me work through that and really just give me the tools, I guess.
When you see somebody confident in the truth and in their truth, I think that's what really stands out to me. When they're not half with it. They're not like, oh well, we can make change, or we can be better, or do this and I think this will make you better. I do this and I think this you'll be happy if you. And I need somebody that's like, this is what I've been through, and lay it all on the table. This is what I've gone through, and this is how I've overcome my sadness, or this is how I've overcome yada yada yada. And this is how we be better together. And somebody is firm in their truth. I think that's what really screams mentor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very careful about like who pours into me and who's like speaking over me, because it's important. And I don't want to follow like a false teacher or something. So I just basically judge people based on the fruits, seeing if they're like involved with other teens, other people around them, stuff like that. What are they actually involved in? Are they living that way? Or am I just seeing like a mask? So it's truthfully, like if you are someone seeking mentorship, study that person who you think is going to be right for you and just ask questions. Don't like try to test them, but like ask them like genuine questions on like what their views on mental health or whatever you're struggling with. And if they speak to you and it's resonating with you, then go for it.
I also feel like you have to realize that not everyone is in the space personally or mentally to help you. And so that's the biggest thing is sometimes we seek mentors that are not able to help us in that moment. And so it turns out negatively for both parties. And it's like, okay, if I would have realized that, or even if the mentor would have realized that, everyone wants to help and everyone wants to be something for someone. But if you're not there for yourself first, then you can't give to somebody else.
And if that person is not pursuing you like you want to pursue them, then that's not your mentor. That's just somebody that thinks that they're all that and they want to be all that. It has to be equally, you have to be equally yoked. You have to be on 100, give you 100%. A mentor has to give 1,000% because they're making up for what you're lacking. And that has to be consistent throughout the whole time.
Yeah, I agree. And just for those young people who don't necessarily know how to find mentors, I think you kind of just look out into the world and see like who do you want to be like, or who has those fruits that you kind of want in your life, and you're like, you know what, I want to talk to that person. But say you want to be a doctor or so, just to throw that out there, email a couple of doctors. We have Google, it's technology is our friend. You Google some different type of doctors that are out there, and literally their contact information is there, emails are there, all that is available at your fingertips. Literally send out 10 emails a day, somebody is going to hit you back. And just keep doing that. Same thing for any type of field that you want to be in, whether that's acting, whether that's in the sports field, like athletes and things like that. Somebody is going to hit you back eventually, and you just keep doing that and keep doing it, keep doing it. And then that's how you start to build these relationships. But one of the biggest things that people like to talk about is themselves, right? So if you're interested in learning about somebody, most likely they want to be able to tell you about themselves. So go out there and find those mentors. But it is very important for that relationship to be mutual, right? So not only don't just go into it thinking, what can this mentor do for me? What can they do for me? And that's it. What can you do for that mentor? Maybe you say, hey, I would like to shadow you, but I would like to also help you. What can I do? Can I file some paperwork? Can I help you send these letters out? Like, can I drop these off at the post office for you? Like, whatever you need to do, you add value to their life, then they'll add value to your life. And you just it's a give and take relationship. So go out there and find those mentors. And you can make people your quote unquote mentor without even knowing them in person, right? So say I wanted to be like Oprah. I can go read her books and where she's talking all about her life. I can go watch her stories. I can go on YouTube. I can learn about people around her, what kind of people, are there in her circle. Like, you just go out there and you learn from these people, read those books that they write, just do all those different types of things, and you'll start to learn from people, and you'll feel like you know that person, and you haven't met that person a day in your life. So go out there and make these mentors happen, these relationships happen, because it's there for you to take advantage of, and it only takes one person to change your life, and for you to possibly change theirs.
Thank you. We have another question in the back.
How can you help the kids with their growth?
With their growth,
So like what growth in what aspect? Like what kind of growth?
Like when they change.
Okay.
personally, I would just say, if I'm speaking like for myself, for like another like youth, whatever, just pouring into them, speaking truth over them, and being there as like a big brother, just being like a good support system. I like to just use whatever talents I have, whatever knowledge I have, and to just kind of guide the way. And because that's what I look to in like a mentor. So I would kind of act as that mentor for other kids around. And just honestly, you just showing up and being here is us pouring into you and helping you grow. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Did anyone else have a question? Okay, here I come.
How y'all doing?
What's going on?
What's up?
So speaking on mental health, because like you were saying, some cases, or most cases aren't medical conditions. A lot of them are, they come from what we feed ourselves in our day-to-day walk. So in saying that, what do you see as the impetus for the downward trend of the mental health of the youth? Because I see like, what's it like? Teenagers having existential dread and I'm a combat vet, so like I'm like, okay, you dealing with some stuff, man. How are you dealing with this? Like, how has it gotten so? How's it the trickle down like reached you guys? So what do you think is the impetus for that?
You can.
So are you asking like what, like, okay, so I think it goes all the way back to like social media and having to be better and having to be somebody that you're not. And so once you see somebody quote unquote better than you, you wanna devote all your time to be that person. You wanna be, oh, I gotta model myself after this person. I gotta be fly, I gotta be fit, I gotta have the nice J's on. And then you get to that point and then you're like, okay, that's not really working for me. Now let me change again. Let me become something else. Let me become fit. Let me have suits on. I think that would be nice. Let me wear my nice fitted clothes, new shoes, and all that stuff. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm still upset. I'm still not changed. Let me change again. Let me give in this friend group. Let me change to this friend group. And then you're going through all those changes to be somebody that you're not. Then when you're like, okay, let me go back to who I was, you can't find them. Because who was your true self? Who were you? You have no idea because you've changed so much trying to be like somebody else. And I feel like that's what's going in our minds of, like, even me, I feel like that's what's affecting us a lot is we're trying to change for the better or trying to be like somebody that you're not, and it's affecting you in the long run.
I definitely feel like social media has caused a lot of identity crisis, like you were saying, especially because kids are mean. Kids are mean. If
Right.
you're not what they think of popular or you don't fit in, they're going to bully you to a point where it's like, okay, now I hate myself because I don't fit in. And it's like that causes a lot of anxiety within a young child because it's like, okay, now I have to be aware of my every move, or I have to be aware of what I'm wearing at all times, or what I'm doing, or what I'm saying, because if they don't like that, or if they don't see it as cool or popular, then I'm going to get bullied, or I'm going to get hate for that. And so it's like you said, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to be like an Instagram model, but it's like, that's Photoshop. That's not real. And that's what people aren't realizing is it's not real. It's
fake.
yeah.
And the world that we're living in with the age of like social media and media alone, it's not the same how it was like 20 years ago. We're getting like clips from all across the world in like 30 seconds into like a minute. We're seeing crisis after crisis. We see people who are suffering on the streets. We see Ukraine and Russia going hand in hand, people fleeing from their homes, people in Mexico fleeing and trying to escape it for a better life. And the media is like trying to cover it all, and we're all like trying to figure out what is our voice in it. Especially if you want to speak for change, you're like constantly bombarded with these topics and these issues, and you feel like you have to do something. You feel like you have to make the change. You feel like you have to put yourself out there. But truthfully, you can't really do anything like that. You can't tackle every single situation. And it's not just the gloomy side of everything. It's also like what he was saying, the flashiness. You know, I want to be fly. I want to have the nice shoes and stuff. We're seeing this stuff, and it's not just we're seeing one post and then it's done for the day. No, we're scrolling for hours and hours and
It's
hours and hours,
constant.
constantly like sucking our minds into this endless loop of this false reality. Everybody is having on a mask, and our brains don't comprehend it as a false reality. We comprehend it as truth. And if we don't see the truth in our everyday, we're constantly chasing what we're seeing and scrolling through. And it's just this kind of rat race that we're all stuck in. So, and I think a lot of teens don't know that information. A lot of teens don't want to get off of TikTok or get off of Snapchat because their friends are all on it and stuff. But I think, honestly, if we stay on that stuff, it's just gonna get worse.
I think we've moved away from like self-love, right? And finding it within ourselves, right? YWP just had a self-love conference, and I think that's important because we got to start learning to find happiness within ourselves. And unfortunately, I mean, social media is a blessing and a curse, but it's out there. And like you said, you're looking at that. We're comparing ourselves to other people. We're trying to be like them women on the magazines, and they don't even look like that on the magazines, right? They've been photoshopped. They've been, cleared up a lot. It's all types of things. So we're striving to be other people every single day. We want to be like this person, and then that person changes, and now we want to look like them. Women are going and blowing their bodies up or doing different things because we think that that's what guys want. So we're always going off of what other people think is the trend or what other people think is good instead of what works for us as an individual, what makes us happy or what makes us feel good, or how do we feel beautiful ourselves, right? So I think we got to stop looking towards others for that affirmation on who we are and what makes us look good. And unfortunately, young people, as your minds are developing, that's what you're doing. You're looking at social media, you're seeing this girl who looks like this with no clothes on or is like looking like a Coke bottle, she gets 1 million likes. And then there's this other girl who doesn't get a lot of likes. So you're like, I don't want to look like that. I want to look like this because this is what's going to make me happy. But then when this girl posts something, that girl posts something and she doesn't get a lot of likes on that post within like minutes, because now we're like looking at this and you're staring at your phone all day like, how many likes I got? How many likes I got? How many videos? How many comments? And if you don't have a lot, now you feel like you're a failure or that you're not good enough or that you're not pretty enough. And you're comparing yourself to this other girl who got like 1 million of likes, right? And sometimes those aren't even real, right? Again,
bots. They're just
people are paying
bots.
for likes nowadays. So now you're trying to achieve something that isn't even real. And like now you're dying inside for something that's not even real in the first place. So it's very important for us to start looking inwards for that love, for that happiness, instead of outwards towards other people who may look like they're living like the best lives ever, right? But then we find out they commit suicide, right? And it's like, well, but I thought they had a lot of money, or I thought they looked really, really well, or they had all these cars, but they weren't happy with what was inside. So it's extremely important to us start loving ourselves and finding that within ourselves.
And if this is your like first time like hearing this perspective, you might be thinking, I don't really feel this way. Maybe they're blowing it way out of proportion. It's because we're talking about this in a wide scale. And if we bring it to reality, it doesn't feel like that. In the moment, you feel like you're just trying to entertain yourself. You have nothing to do from 1 to 3, so you're like, okay, let me just scroll through TikTok. But you're not realizing that the stuff that you're watching is going into your mind, and you're subconsciously making these insecurities. So it's not going to feel grand and major, but it's understanding and getting that self-realization that this is not what I should be doing. Maybe let me just read a book or something like that.
So I have a question for you, just to follow up on your question and your responses. How do you create diversity? Because as you all mentioned, a lot of things that causes the mental spiral in the first place is the comparisons from what you see on multiple platforms of social media sites, from Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, all of that. How do you create diversity if that's all we see? So remember, we're in a pandemic. There's not a much, because my generation, we grew up outside. Okay, we was playing red light, green light. We was playing freeze tag. Everyone now, your only form of communication is online. So how do you create diversity in your everyday lives to kind of counteract that?
Just stop trying to be hard. Like, just be you, be yourself. And that was one of the amazing things I've learned when I did join YWP is I can just be myself, and that's still cool. I can still be myself and still succeed. A lot of our young men are going through right now is we got to be hard to get the girl, or we got to be hard to be the leader of my friend group, or be popular in school. And it's damaging to our young men. It's damaging to our minds, and it's damaging in our relationship because we feel like, oh, we got to be the protector. And the only way to be the protector is to be the big bully and be the big man in the group. And that's not the case. And I'm saying all this to say that even though there are the young men that wants to be hard, we still got to tap into their mind and give them the little seeds like, you can be better. You can change from this. You don't have to be that big old man on campus. You can still be yourself. You can still be changing the world. You can come back. You don't have to be that way. And so I guess creating diversity is just like being myself around those who are afraid to be themselves.
Don't be scared of being the outlier. That's the biggest thing, because we're seeing everybody walk this certain path, and we're scared if we deviate from that path, then everybody's going to judge us. When in reality, nobody's looking at you. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
And it's that understanding that like everybody has the same outlook of insecurities. Everybody's constantly looking about like, oh, how I look today, how I walk today. And we're thinking that people are judging us, but they're really trying to figure out how other people are judging them. So stepping outside of that line and be like, I'm going to just do me, I'm going to be happy and take care of my own self, I see that's how we will see actual genuine change.
I feel like you have to realize that not everyone's going to like you. There's always going to be someone that has something to say, or there's always going to be someone that judges you, and it's like, okay, I'm not living for you. I'm living for myself. I have to, if I enjoy wearing that skirt, then I'm going to wear the skirt. If I want to wear my hair like that, then that's for me. It's not for you. You have your own life to live, and I can't take your negative comments and beat myself up about it, because at the end of the day, you don't go home with me. I don't have to see you every day. Like, you have to also not allow those people to be in your life. If they're constantly draining you or have something negative to say, you don't need that energy in your life. You have to surround yourself with positivity. And okay, we may not have the same style, but if I'm lifting you up and you're lifting me up, we're going to be friends. I'm not going to be around the popular group in school that it's constantly judging me and making me be self-conscious. You don't need that.
We need to embrace diversity, right? Like, we need Tyrell, we need Brooklyn, we need Tyreek. We don't need Tyreek. We don't need that. We need, yes, too much. We need one of everybody. Like, we were all created different for a reason, so that we can all contribute our gifts to the world. So we can't have everybody trying to be exactly like that one person, because now, like, we don't have all the gifts that was put here that come from each individual person. So we got to start, learning to be ourselves. Nobody can be you better than you. And that's why you have to be that. Nobody can be LeBron James. Nobody can be Oprah. Nobody can be Tyreek except Tyreek. You have to play your role and stay in your lane. See, and that's what happens. I try to tell people all the time. Right? When you stay in your lane, there's no traffic there, because it's my lane. I'm Mona. So this lane that God created for me, or whoever you believe in, created for you, that's you. Where we create crashes and chaos and all that stuff is why we all, a lot of us are old enough to drive in here. When you start trying to merge into other people's lanes and trying to get over or trying to look into their cars or see what they got, that's when you start crashing, because you're doing too much. Stay in your lane. And then it's a free lane. Yes, it might curve and we have obstacles and ups and downs, but they do too. We just might not see it. We looking over at them, and right now they got smooth sailing and they just going straight. But that was just their path when you saw them. But they got ups and downs and twists and turns and all of that stuff too. So you just need to stay in your lane. We all have it. We all have trials and tribulations, and we all have good times as well. So don't just be like, blindsided or blinded to only seeing when they do well. And in social media as well, a lot of people, they report those successes and all the good things, and they don't post all the bad things or the blemishes, the imperfections and things like that. So just remember that everybody has that. And so don't get stuck thinking that somebody's life is perfect, because nobody was put on this earth who is perfect. So just strive to be yourself, because you can be perfectly you, right? That's the only thing you can be perfect at, is being yourself. And that comes with your mistakes. It comes with your failures. It comes with your successes. So just be you. Because at the end of the day, someone say, you're not perfect, I'm not perfect, but I'm perfectly me.
I don't know if this is like an open dialogue, because I kind of want to piggyback on what y'all was saying about diversity. Okay, thank you. So the mentor or someone who's looking to reach out to the youth, I think it's also important to recognize that, how do I say this? Social pressure is there and it's very strong. So to be a single drop in an ocean, it's a hard deal, you know what I'm saying? To want to do something different when everyone's doing something else, and I want to be involved. I don't want to just be alienated from my age group. So it's important for now the adults or the more mature people who know what you guys know to recognize what's inside of the youth, to see that gift and extrapolate what's there, and to listen to the ideas that they have and be like, hey man, I see what you got right here. Like, get away from what you're seeing someone else do or what you've heard. Right. I see what you got. What ideas do you have? And then being that I don't want to say this, that innovator inside of that young person's life who goes the extra mile and says, you can do this. I got this step here, these plans, so that you can bring this to fruition, that you can invest in this, because this is what's going to make you stand above everybody that's doing the same thing. And I like how you brought up, outliers. In statistics, outliers are people who mess up your data. They mess up your trend line. So when you got everyone being an outlier and there's no trend and no one can market to the, you guys stay right here. Yeah. We're gonna start making fentanyl legal for some reason. Like we like where this is going because that's making money. Like we got to be honest about the country, right?
Yep.
Now, when we're messing up that trend line, they're like, oh, where do we go? Where do we go? Like we're breaking up something. We're breaking down, tearing down different strongholds that everyone's dealing with. That's really all I have, but
Yes, sir.
I'm losing my
Yes,
train of
sir.
thought.
That's enough. That's enough. Oh my God.
You have a question over here.
Okay, here I come, Miss Lady.
Oh, Lasia.
You don't have to say my name like that. Anyways, well, two things. Thing number one, you guys are doing great. Thank you. And then thing number two, kind of like a whole new thing. But you guys were talking about seasoned adults and such like that, and something that like keeps me going and like not giving up until tomorrow. Got you. But is what am I doing today that's gonna affect future Alasia? And basically like what is present me doing that's gonna impact future me and impact whoever future me impacts, whoever I impact on the way. And so basically my question was, is there anything that you guys are doing currently that has the intention of being able to impact future you or whoever you may or may not impact in however many years it is?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And it sucks sometimes when you don't want to, but getting out of the bed when you just feel like you just don't want to, and going to church when you're like, I just came from a long shift, I don't want to. But I'm teaching on Sundays to Sunday schools, and when I feel like I don't want to get up on those Sundays and I feel like I just can't get out of bed, that's the enemy trying to pull me down and try to don't wake up, don't get up, because the enemy knows if I do get up and I do go to those classes, I'm gonna pour my knowledge onto the younger kids, and then once I teach them a lesson or give them little nuggets, they're gonna take that on with them in life. And just that example alone, I like to take that in my everyday life, because if I don't get up out of the bed, if I don't get up and if I don't start, then I won't get used to that. I'll get comfortable sitting in the same position. I'll get comfortable laying in the bed. If I don't break that cycle right now, then I won't do it later on. I won't do it 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
I feel like for me, I've definitely had to like slow down a little bit and take each day by day, because I can get caught up in my head and it's like, okay, this decision now, how is that going to affect me in 5 years, and what is that, and it just, like, I spiral with it. So for me, I've started taking every day by day, and it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up, like you said, and I'm going to do this. And, like, yes, this is going to have an impact, and is it going to be positive or negative? And then go from there. And you have to think towards the future, obviously, because you want to build something. You want to keep moving forward, but you can't dwell in it. You can't only focus on, okay, my one decision, like if I eat this bagel, then I'm going to do this and that and that. So you have to really like slow down. Like for me, I've had to slow down.
I agree. Because you're talking about like what actually like we're talking about seasoned adults and like how to get there and how to personally I interpret it as how do we kind of like break that cycle and to have a better Tyreek. So something that I've lived by is we enter this world not knowing anything, and everything is given to us, like our names. We didn't choose our names. The principles that we follow, our morals that we follow, have all been passed down and given to us. Those are the agreements that we walk with throughout our lives. There's this book that's called The Four Agreements, and it's something that changed my perspective a lot. And so it's like these are new agreements that you can invest in and you can walk with throughout your everyday. And I'm going to read them so you guys can invest in yourselves. One of them is be impeccable with your word. So that means whatever you say, make sure you're speaking truthfully, make sure you're speaking honestly, and you know what you're saying, and you know what you're talking about, so someone can't use it against you. And just be truthful with it. Don't make assumptions, no matter what's going on. You know, even if you're in an argument, me and Tyra, we argue all the time. But what he says, I can't make an assumption on how he felt because there's something else that he's going through to make him say something like that. Or my boss is angry at me, he says something to me, and I interpret that as, oh, he hates me, oh, he's coming down on me. Don't make that assumption. You don't understand what's going on. There's something deeper that's at work. The next one is don't take anything personally. Like what your boss is, he's angry at you. Don't contemplate, should I quit? Should I leave because he came down on me, blah, 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 when there's something deeper at work that he's battling, or when me and my brother are arguing and he says something offensive, that has nothing to do with me. If he says something offensive, that speaks onto his heart. I don't have to accept that into myself. So I'm not going to take that personally. I'm not going to let that affect my day because that's on him. And always do your best. Whenever you do something, make sure you put your 100% into it. Don't go through it halfway. When you want to excel in a job, when you want to get that position, when you want to excel in your classes, give your 100% best effort. Go to sleep when you're supposed to. Wake up when you're supposed to so you're energized. Do your homework, study, do whatever that your 100% best is, and I guarantee you will make the change and you will get to a position where you want to. So those are the 4 agreements that I invested into my life, and I've seen actual genuine change because this is contradictory to what the media and what the world wants you to be in because they want you into that cycle. So I encourage you guys to read that book. It's pretty powerful.
There's something I want to add to that. That's very powerful, and it made me think about a story I was taught a long time ago. I went to Men's Mentor Day, and this motivational speaker brought this to me. He said, not to me, but to the class, he said, there's 2 wolves that live inside of us every day. There's the weak wolf, and there's a courage wolf. And his whole message was, which wolf are you feeding? In everyday life, you're always making decisions. And when you do make the decision, it's either you're feeding the courage wolf or the coward wolf. And if you're feeding the coward wolf by saying, no, I can't do that, I'm too weak. Or I can't do that because I'm just not ready. Or you're quitting on yourself, you're early quitting. And you say, I just can't do it because I'm not ready. You're quitting on yourself. And you're not doing it intentionally, but you're feeding the coward wolf. And what happens when you feed a dog? It gets healthy. What happens when you nourish it and you give it water and you treat it, if you feed it healthy, it's going to get stronger and it's going to become bigger. So every day when you're making the decisions and you're feeding the coward wolf, you're feeding that coward wolf more than your courage wolf. And so the courage wolf gets weaker. And then your courage wolf no longer takes presence in your everyday life and you're only seeing the coward wolf. And that overtakes your personality, that overtakes you. And now you are the coward wolf. Because you've done nothing but feeding, been nothing but feeding the coward wolf. And so after that message, I was like, wow, I never even thought of it like that. So now when I make hard decisions or I think about things like that, I'm like, which wolf am I feeding? The courage wolf or the coward wolf? What wolf do I want to be at the end of the day?
Wow, I hope you guys are grabbing all these gems that are being dropped out here today. And me specifically, I have short-term goals and long-term goals, and I have a vision board that I do every single year. and put it up on the wall, and it basically has like what I want in life, my goals, different affirmations, different pictures, different things that motivate me. And every single day I see that, and I'm asking myself, what I'm doing today, is that going to help me reach these goals? Yes, do it. No, don't do it. And sometimes obviously you do things that are not a part of it, but then you have to bounce back and get back on track. So that's what I do in order to reach those goals and to make sure that like my actions and what I do aligns with what the goals that I have for myself. And that's been a thing I've been doing for years. Even in college, I went to Arizona State, which was one of the biggest party schools in the nation, but a lot of those people who were partying back then when we was in the college dorms are still partying now. So a lot of that stuff will still be there. And you just have to make those sacrifices to make sure that you're achieving those goals that you have set for yourself, and don't go off from those.
Any more questions?
Do we have any more questions?
Go ahead.
You have one more statement?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're expecting the youth to have the maturity to seek a mentor. However, what should mentors look for when reaching out to, for lack of better words, an at-risk youth, or someone we see who needs a mentor? And what steps can we take to make that outreach responsibly?
I would say personally, don't go into it with the attitude of, I'm going to be a mentor. Go into it with the attitude of, okay, this teen might need some help. What can I do to be at service for that person? And then over time, I think that relationship builds and you become that mentor for that person.
I feel like also you have to realize that it's not going to be easy, and they're not necessarily going to be open to the help or the change. And so don't give up on them the first time. Like if they say, no, I don't need that, but they do. And deep down, they have to open themselves to it, and you have to be a little patient. And like you said, don't necessarily go into it like, I'm going to change them. You have to be patient and just work with them.
And the person who wants to be a mentor has to, like in your case, if you want to become a mentor, you have to have that conversation with yourself. Am I ready? Because I want to be a mentor, right? Even like right now, I want to pour myself into one of the kids at our church that are younger than me, that looks up to me, and I'm like, okay, I want to be a mentor, but I still need to be mentored. And can I really fully invest myself into this person? Can I make them better if I still need to be better? So until I'm at the 100% my best, and obviously I can't be 100% my best, but I'm still actively growing, and I know I want to be bigger, there's no way I could be a mentor if I'm not 100% right with myself. That makes sense.
I don't know. I think I disagree, though, respectfully. Because I don't think you're ever ready to be a mentor. I think, everybody needs a mentor, even though, because in my position, I'm just not biting off more than what I can chew. I'm not saying, okay, everybody's going to be under my wing. No. I'm just going to give the people who are, younger than me the knowledge that I have, and then eventually, if the relationship builds, I become their mentor. But it's like I'm feeding into them, and I'm pouring out to them. But on the other side, I have somebody else pouring into me, so it trickles down.
I feel like, so I agree but disagree, because I wouldn't call myself a mentor at that point. I'll be a bigger brother.
You don't have to call it a mentor.
I'll be a big brother, or somebody that's pouring my spirit, my life into that person, or a role model, I would say. But until I take on that name, mentor, I'd like to be 100%, if that makes sense. Even though somebody can be pouring, like what you said, somebody's pouring into you and you pour to others, I don't think you'll be given that title until you know for 100%.
But the thing is, you're in people's lives for a reason. A season, a reason, or a lifetime.
Come on.
So whether it be you teaching them this small lesson right now, or just for something small, or a lifetime to grow with them and really teach them, it's for something. Right. And so it's like, it can, just because you're not necessarily their mentor, they still look up to you, and you're still teaching them. So I feel like I agree with both points.
And I think it's just you got to take it case by case. So like if you yourself are like super like in a depressive state and you know like you're not all the way there 100%, then yeah, you know, take some time to invest in yourself, build yourself up. But I think it still stands firm that you can always offer some knowledge to some people. Because we were at Sunday school, I'm gonna keep this very brief, but we're at Sunday school and these kids are like very, you know, impressionable, and we had to go through lessons and like we had to learn how to teach kids and stuff like that because I didn't know it at the time, but we are their first introduction to some of these lessons, and whatever like we say, you know, that's what they're gonna take away from it. So I was kind of like blown away when I was like talking about the story of Joseph, and they're like, "Who's Joseph? You know, what's like the pretty colors and stuff like that, like the coats and stuff." I was like, "You don't know the story. Everybody knows Joseph, the King of Dreams." And it took me a second, like, wow, these are like brand new kids to these lessons and stuff. So I understood that there's always something that I can teach somebody.
And I think mentorship is one of those things that kind of comes naturally. Like you don't necessarily say, I'm going to go mentor. Because they have mentor programs, right? Like Big Brother, Big Sister, and that's where they just kind of pair you. And some work and some don't. I still have a big sister, and she's my mentor. So it actually worked in our case, but it doesn't always work that way because they can match you with your favorite colors and what you like to do, but if your spirits aren't aligned, then it's just not going to work. So I think you just go in, you're getting involved with organizations, and someone's just going to gravitate to you, and you're going to gravitate to that person, and then you just have this mentor-mentee relationship. But I think I have a lot of mentors who never even said, like, I'm going to be your mentor, but I consider them a mentor. And then, like, when I go speak and I'm talking about my mentors, they're like, dang, they feel special because they didn't even know that I put that title on them. They just have it. Like you see some of these athletes, you know, that say, I'm not a role model or I'm not a mentor, but you are whether you want to be that or not because people are looking up to you. So whether you're ready or not, you're going to be considered, someone's going to say, that's my mentor. So like Tara, she never said,
I was about to say, yeah.
I'm going to be your mentor or things like that. But our relationship grew. She's older than me. She's wiser than me. She knows a lot more things. And I'm like, ooh, she's on that same path. And she has those fruits that I like, you know. So then I'm like, oh, she's my mentor. So it kind of just happens like that. It's one of those things that just happens naturally and you don't force it.
I want to say one way that's helped us with becoming, in a sense, mentors, because none of the relationships were for that role. It was just pouring in and giving back to the young people in general. And there are certain ones, no matter what, that's going to gravitate to you. And in that gravitation, it became more beyond our program and turned into, oh, Miss T, I have a question, or oh, I have this thought, or what have you. Because even when we look at this forum that we have today, it goes back to this gentleman's statement about investing in the young people. The urban experience came about because one of our ambassadors, Tyrell, came and said, can we do something like this? And of course, it was a process that I needed him to understand that it wasn't just going to happen because you came to me. What you put in is what you're going to get out, and we'll work on this together. But the relationships that I have seen, whether it's through the youth that we work with or beautiful women like Mona or parents that have been a part of moments, it's never scripted. It's never, oh, I think I want to work with you. It's more of these things just happen. And I believe that God has a way of putting us in certain people's paths. But it's still up to us what we do in that path and what we bring to whoever it is, whether it's a youth, even older folks, because I have older people who are older than me, but they still look for advice or moments, but it's just a matter of wherever you're supposed to be, that's where you're going to be. Whoever you're supposed to lead, you will lead, but still it goes back to everyone is not necessarily fit to lead, because we have a lot of folks who, even as a parent, you're leading your children, however, what example are you leading them to? Because if I tell you, oh, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, but what have you done? So it boils down to truly that village, but still figuring out what you're bringing to the table to be a proper mentor. Because that term is used very, very, it's just used too much. When in actuality, it's not necessarily that you're a mentor. Maybe, you're just a good friend. But if you're gonna pour in, make sure you're pouring in.
Yeah.
Not halfway, but actually pour in positivity to whoever it is in your space, whether it's the youth or someone older or your community. And so I'll end with that.
And I'm glad that you actually said that, because that's leading us into our next part. When you pour in and being prepared and things of that nature, we actually want to talk about ways to take action. The first thing we wanted to mention to everyone as far as taking action is register to vote and actually vote. Don't just say, oh, I registered, signed my name on a piece of paper, I got my voting card. Making sure that you're filling out the documentation, makes you feel like put it in your mailbox, or you take it to your voter registration shop, making sure you vote. The second thing that we can do is find your voice, speak your truth. Just how we all came to this platform today, that we had that dialogue, we speak. Take this, what you learned here, outside of this building. Carry it with you on your everyday life. Speak your truth. Don't be afraid to be who you are. Our third thing is support the organizations in your community. We talked about earlier, some people want to clean, some people want to donate, some people want to give back, give clothes, give therapy sessions, group sessions, things of that nature. You got to get involved. If you want to see change, you have to be that change. Fourth, educate yourselves on the policies and the candidates running for your everyday office. It's important to know who you're going to have leading your life, leading your community, leading your surroundings. Lastly, our fifth notion is educate your children on their history. It's easy to say, I know where I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but you got to know your roots. You got to know where you came from. You got to know the decisions people made before you, the mistakes that they made, so you don't make the same mistakes that they made. With that being said, if you have any other questions or notions, please make sure to follow the Youth World Education Project on Instagram, Facebook for all of our upcoming events and activities. Once again, thanks to our panelists. Thank you to our moderator, Ms. Mona. Everybody give yourselves a hand.
I was going to say there's also one more thing. We have the Urban Experience coming up. This is the first introduction to that. So I want you guys to also follow the Urban Experience Instagram page for updates, shout outs, anything like that. So it's ~urban_experience_. So it's a lot, but we're looking forward to it. This is just like the first, start off, kickstart to it. So it's going to be pretty cool.
All right, so thank you, Tyreek. Thank you, Brooklyn. Thank you, Tyrell.
Thank you.
Once again, I'm Mona Dixon. We had a wonderful time with you all today. Thank you for those who showed up. Thank you for those who watched live, and I'm sure it'll be posted and you can go watch later and catch up on all these gems that were dropped with you today. So don't forget to support YWEP. Reach out, ask how you can get involved so that you can be a part of this great change that's happening today. Thank you for joining us for the 2022 Youth Speak. And don't miss out on any of the upcoming events that are coming out. When you snooze, you lose. And there's a lot of good things that comes out of this organization. So once again, thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you.